Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. So for this one, I'm gonna try and create the way that I have in my project the NPC interaction. And this also was requested by somebody during one of my live streams. And one of the things that he was looking at is an example from The Last of Us. And here we go. This is Joel here, just walking into this room, controlled by the player, by the you know um, and there's Ellie coming behind him. So the one that the part that I wanted to highlight is, um, as you can see, if you look at the at Ellie's face, there's a facial animation being played for the dialogue. And I'm sorry, I'm talking over her now. So, and then she does this. She moves towards that point and then jumps on the table, just sitting there. And what I wanted to do is something similar to that. It's probably not going to be to the point of exactly how this is, because this is really complex animation going on. But what we will look at is what I have going on here. So pretty basic setup at this point, but you can easily expand it and improve on it. So let's jump into game mode here. And this is the ALS package, if you as you can see. Let me turn down the volume as well. So what I have done is, let me go farther away from this Metahuman. So what I have done using the Metahuman, what happens is once you reach the range of interaction with this character, there's going to be a montage playing on the body and also a facial animation playing on the face. And as a little bonus, what we'll look at the end is how this character is focused on you once that ends. So let's enter their interaction sphere again. So there he goes. It plays probably at this point. This is the quickest animation that I could find from Mixamo, and that's another thing that we'll look at, just retargeting animations with Unreal Engine 5.1.1. But yeah, so there's the animation playing on the body and the facial animation playing on the face. So we'll look at creating all of that, and starting from a new ALS v4 project. And I'm using ALS v4 because it already has all the motion, the animation set up and the animation blueprint for the body motion. So that's why I start off with that. And you can use anything else. It should be you'd be able to follow the same course. Okay, well, let's jump into it. I'm gonna move this to the side so I can keep it as a reference, and I'm gonna start off a fresh new ALS v4, and this is in 5.1.1. It's not available for 5.1.1 at the moment. It's only to 5.0. So what you can do, you can install it. You can create the project if you use ALS. You can create it for 4.27, and then if you right click on the .u project file, you can switch versions to a 5.1, and then it would just work. Okay, so here we are, a fresh ALS v4 project. As you can see, these guys are going around. If you've seen the ALS v4 project, this is kind of the behavior. There's all the NPCs going around here. Okay, so in order to kind of set things up for us here, what I'm going to do is, let's navigate to the directory here for ALS, and I am going to look for a blueprint class, and I'm going to look at this main ALS man character BP. So this is a child of this base character BP. So what I wanted to do is also create a couple of children from this class, and namely, because I just wanted to have them separate from all the actors in the level, because all of these are going to be of that type of anim character BP. So I'm going to go ahead and in my browser here, let's go and show in folder view, And from here, I'm going to create a child blueprint class and call this, let me see, let's call this main character. So ALS main. And then I'm going to create another one. And this is going to be the NPC. So NPC, which will be our metahuman character. Okay, and the first thing that I wanted to do is, because by default the project has a setup with that child blueprint class, I wanted to use, basically in this case, this is going to be the grandchild of this base character. So I'm going to use the main one, which is here. I'm going to use that as the default pawn class. So that way we can use the NPC to only have an overlap event with the main class. We don't want to, when it overlaps with some of the other ones in the level, we don't want the NPC, the metahuman, to start playing any animation or do anything that's only supposed to be done for the main character. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly save here. So to start this off, I am going to go into, let's first go into our NPC class. And the NPC class, since they're going to be the ones that you're going to focus on, and they're the more important from a visual aspect, I'm going to try and set this up so it's going to be more extensible, because the metahuman can come with multiple body parts, like the hands, the body, the pants, and I want it to be able for you to set those up separately. You might have some shorts for the pants, you might have shorts instead of the long pants, or you might have the shirt instead of the blouse, I think, that comes with some of these metahumans. Or you can just have your custom. You don't have to use necessarily the same from the metahumans. They have to use the same animation set, because sometimes the skeletons don't match. Okay, so in here, what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and set this up real quick. So I'm going to start adding, under these visual meshes, a few other body meshes. So we already have this one, which is right now it's nothing assigned to it, because it's the mesh that has our current, in case of ALS, it's called Animan skeleton. So under visual meshes, I'm going to continue to add a few other body meshes. So maybe let's do 4. So I'm going to add another, I'm just going to duplicate this one. So we have body mesh 1, then we're going to have a body mesh 2, body mesh 3, and let's make it 5. So in case we have extras, we can add them in. Now we want them just like you see in our parent class. Let's take a quick peek at that. You'll see that in the construction script. Let's open this one real quick. It's using this set leader pose component. So what that does is it's taken from the mesh, and it's kind of translating or copying the animations to the body mesh. I'm not entirely sure what the technical aspect would be, but the body mesh is going to follow what the mesh is doing, basically. So we're going to do the same thing in here for the other body parts. So we already have the parent construction script, but we'll just add to it. And at this point, since the parent construction script only has these dynamic material and set reset colors, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this node here. I don't want I don't care about the set dynamic materials and the reset colors for the NPC, because it's going to be completely different. It's going to be made up of the metahuman body parts. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to move it, going to disconnect the parent construction script in my NPC class, and I'm going to paste this in here. And this will go all the way at the end because we want all the other body meshes to have the set leader pose component to the mesh. So for each of our body meshes, let's drag those in. We got body mesh 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's also do the body mesh, the first one. And we want to be able to set these up for each individual character, or each individual instance of this class. So for the body mesh, what we're going to do a set skeletal mesh asset. Let's just move these things a little bit, create a little bit more space out here. Then the body mesh 2, we're going to use the same node, Control D to duplicate. And let's do this here real quick. Then 3. I forgot about 1, so let's try and keep them in order. Alright, let's use another one of these. Body mesh 1. We have body mesh 2. Gonna drop this down here. We have body mesh 3 and body mesh 4. And at the end, they will all have to have the leader pose component set to the mesh. So I'm just going to drag and connect all of these here, just like so. And the body mesh is already added in here, so I don't need to add that in. And now let's promote each one of these to a variable, because we want to be able to set it. So I'm going to do promote to variable, and this one's going to be called, let's call this body mesh skeleton from skeleton. And I'm going to copy all of this. Do the same thing for the other ones. So promote to variable, and this is body mesh 1. Promote to variable, this is going to be body mesh 2 here as well. So this was body mesh 3, and we're almost there. Promote to variable, and this is going to be body mesh 4, like that. Alright, so in order for us to be able to edit those, let's select them. And I guess we need to do them individually to make them public and editable. Alright, so in our demo level, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in one of those NPC classes right there. And this is going to be the one that's going to hold all the body parts for the metahuman. So now if we look at this, we have all these body mesh skeletons that we can set. Okay, so with this one being in place, let's go to Quixel Bridge, and this is going to be some of the metahumans that I have. Let's see, where are they? They are under local somewhere, metahumans. And let's use Vivian, because I believe I already have it downloaded. So sometimes it takes a while if it's being processed for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. Alright, so there's going to be a bunch of missing plugins and project settings that we need to enable. The most important ones are going to be the project settings. I'm going to do all of them at the moment, so these errors don't pop up anymore. So I'm going to enable that, enable these, and enable enable these. So let's go ahead. I'm going to restart now, and let's make sure I save everything. A lot of the dependency, the what I've noticed is with the Groom assets, and that's um, one of the plugins that I will show you when we get to also do the Grooms. And thankfully there's not a lot of shaders here, at least for now. Okay, and let's open the editor that we had open. Alright, so let's look at the directory that we have for the Metahumans. So right now we have Vivian, and the current setup for Vivian, I think it's a skeleton. Let's look at the skeletons for this Metahuman, and let's sort by skeletal mesh. So we have a the skeleton for the cargo pants, for the boots, for the sweater, for the face, and actually this is the face mesh for Vivian, and the one for the body. So as you can see, it's a female, tall, normal weight body. That's kind of the F for female. TAL I believe is for tall, and our W is for normal weight and body. So we're going to use all these pieces with our to add them to our NPC. So let's do that. I'm going to select this real quick. And to start off, what we're going to do is we need to change our base mesh, the skeletal mesh asset, to be for the one of the Metahuman. So we're going to select the FMAD and our W body. So let's add that in here. So there it is. Now the reason that it's doing this is because it doesn't have any animation blueprints assigned to it right now. See, once you added that in, and if we were to use the ALS anim blueprint, we'll take a look at what's going to happen to it. Okay, so for the rest of the body pieces, let's add those in. So we're going to add in. Let's see, what do we want to start off? Let's add the cargo pants. I'm just going to move this to the side so we can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to go in here. So we have the cargo pants. Let's do the boots. There's the boots. Let's do the sweater. There's the sweater. And I think that is it, at least for this. Let me see if the hands are gonna, hopefully the shaders are gonna compile for the hands as well. There we go. Okay. So now the one thing that I forgot to do in our NPC, the mesh, this can be set to hidden because we don't need to, we don't want to see this. And I'm gonna look for visibility, and there we go. So now we have everything that a Metahuman has. The only thing we don't have is the face. So let's add that in. And just like before, for our body meshes, I'm gonna duplicate one of these, and I'm gonna call it face. Now the only difference with this one is we will not have that set leader pose component. We'll do it a different way, and we'll take a look at that right away once we have everything, the animations retargeted. Okay, so in here we'll just use the same node, the set skeletal mesh asset, and let's add the face here, and then promote this to a variable, and this one we'll call it face skeleton. Alright, let's link these up. There we go. And compile. And let me see if I need to set this to be editable as well. And now we should have the face skeletal mesh, and this is Vivian. We'll just add that in here. Okay, so at the moment you'll notice that the placement is a little bit off. So the first thing that we'll do is let's actually make sure that this character, this NPC, can actually use the animations that come with ALS. So you might have a different set of animations, but the process should be the same. I'm gonna go into game mode real quick. Yeah, so as you can see, there's nothing happening to this character at the moment because there's no animations for them. So in order to do that, let's take a look and do the retargeting. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention, especially when it comes to ALS system, there's quite a few debugging things being set up, and a lot of them are really specific to the ALS character. So that's kind of like this, especially this particular error with set vector parameter and the set reset colors. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to go into the parent of this class. So if you look here, that's how you get to your parent. And let's check out this function. It should be in, let's see, I assume is in the construction script and set reset color. So what I'm going to do for this purpose, for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to disconnect this so we don't get that error anymore. So now if we jump to game mode, this error should happen when we exit, so we don't get that. Okay, now another part of this video that I wanted to show is how to do retargeting in Unreal Engine and in Unreal Engine 5, because it's quite different than Unreal Engine 4. So in order to do that, let's actually jump into, I'm going to start with the Metahuman, and I'm going to create a new folder here and retarget it. I'm going to call it retargeted, if I can spell, animations. And in here, let's create a separate folder that is used for ALS. And we'll use another one here. In this case, is going to be for Mixamo, because we mentioned that we're going to use a Mixamo kind of jumping for joy type of animation that we're going to try and use for the body. Okay. So before we start retargeting, we're going to need, this is what's different, we're going to need to create some IK rigs. So I'm going to create an IK rig. This one's going to be for the Metahuman. So I can select any of these skeletons here. So I'm going to start with the FMed NRW body here. So I'm going to call this Metahuman _ IK rig. And I'm going to be doing the same in here. So this one is going to be the one for the ALS character. And let's take a look. It's under animation, IK rig, and IK rig. And I need to select the Anim skeleton. So this is going to be Anim. I'm going to call it, just to know it a little bit better, ALS Anim Man IK rig. Okay, so for each one of these, this is going to be, I'm going to do a pretty basic retargeting. I'm not going to go as into the depth of doing all the finger bones and anything like that, but if you follow along with this piece, you should be able to replicate it for the fingers as well. So for this, I'm going to start with the pelvis. So what I do is I'm going to create a new retarget chain from selected bones, and I'm going to call this pelvis. So I'm going to start kind of at the bottom, pelvis, and set to no go. Then I'm going to use the spine all the way to spine 3, and I'm going to create another retarget chain here for the spine. And it's nice that it auto fills it with a chain name like that. Then I'm going to do one for the left arm. So I'm going to start at clavicle L and end at hand L. And new retarget chain, left arm. Then let's do the right arm. Same story here. Right arm and with no goal. Okay, and now let's do the legs. So I'm going to start with, or actually not to forget, but I'm going to do the neck and the head. And new retarget chain. Let's do the thigh. I'm going to use it to the foot. Not entirely sure why it adds another one here. Maybe because this one has a child, and it's probably just a something specific to the ALS setup. But I'm gonna remove. Let's see. Let's remove this one here because I wanted to start at the thigh L and end at the foot L. I'm gonna just fix this and call it left leg. And do the same thing for, I'm not sure if I can deselect this. I wonder if that would work as well. I haven't tried that, so let's see. So I'm going to do the same thing for the right foot or right leg, and that works actually. So that's something good. Okay, so we have the IK rig for the ALS. Let's do now the IK rig for the Metahuman, and I believe well, I've set it in here. So here it is. And the Metahuman has a lot more bones, so we'll try and match it the best we can. So we have the pelvis, and I'm going to create a new retarget chain for that and call it pelvis. Then let's do the spine. So spine all the way to spine 0.5. Alright, then the neck to the head there. And I believe this might be a little bit different. So this one got named neck, and I think this one might have been named head. So let's call this one neck as well. So they have to match. I mean, it's best that they match, so when you do the retargeting, they get paired properly. So we'll look at that in just a second here. Alright, so I'm going to start with the clavicle, and I'm going to go to the hand L, and let's deselect these bones in the middle here. And I think also the upper arm corrective root might be okay to deselect. And let's do a retarget chain from this for the left arm. And as you can see, there's a ton of other extra bones for the fingers, and a lot of them. And let's do the right arm now. New retarget, right arm. And scroll all the way down to the foot. So this one is actually pretty straightforward. It is from thigh R to foot R. So right leg. And then we'll do the same thing for the left leg. Okay, so that one's in place. Now what I wanted to do is the last piece of this, we have the IK rigs, but we now need to do a IK retargeter. So we have the two IK rigs that go into the retargeter. So in our case is going to be the retargeter for the ALS and the one for the Metahuman. So this is going to be our retargeter here. So let's call this, because we're also going to have one to be, this is going to be anim to Metahuman. Let's call it, actually it's going to be ALS anim to Metahuman, and there's going to be another one for the Mixamo to Metahuman. Okay, so in here we already have the AnimMan IK rig set up. The other one is going to be our Metahuman IK rig, and I noticed there's like an IK rig already set up from the Metahuman package, but not sure how that works. Let's take a look and see. Maybe it works better, but I don't think it might. See, this one has it's pretty complex, so we might not get the best results. So we want to have kind of the same um, target chain and source chain. So I'm going to use the one that we've just created, the Metahuman IK rig. So as you can see, these match: pelvis to pelvis, spine to spine, neck, left, right arm, right leg, left leg. So now if we try to look at one of the animations, let's see how that plays out. So I'm going to try and do maybe a walk forwards, and there we go. So that looks pretty good, and the motions seem to match pretty well. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go into our directory here, and I'm going to look for the anim BP for our ALS character, and that one is right here. So whenever you right click on this and retarget animation assets, it's going to duplicate and retarget the animation blueprint along with all the animations that are set up. And it's going to need an IK retargeter, which is going to be our ALS anim to Metahuman. And let's change this, so we'll place this under the Metahumans and retargeted animations ALS. So we're going to place it right there, and let's call retarget. So this is going to take a little bit because there's a lot of animations that need to be done, or maybe not that many, or at least not that many, didn't take that long. So I'm going to just quickly save it. I think this might take the longest time if I recall correctly. Let's see. Oh no, that was quick. Perfect. Alright, so now we have this ALS anim BP, but this one is actually the Metahuman, so I'm going to rename this to Metahuman anim BP. And what we'll do is we will apply this to our character here. So there we go. That's in place. Let's jump into game mode and see if this character actually does the same thing as some of the other ones. Now, all these they run a simple blueprint, a simple behavior tree, so that way they can track you along. And this one does the same thing, but the one thing that it doesn't have extended here is this, the nav mesh bounds volume. So I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm just going to keep it in this space. Alright, so let's jump into game mode. And as you can see at the moment, it is doing what the other characters are doing, just kind of moving along and just focusing on you and following you to a specific location. I believe it could have been a little bit the retargeting could have been done a little bit better, because see, it's just like sitting a little bit higher up. So I think we could have done a little bit better on the retargeting in our retargeter. As you can see, this it's sitting a little bit high up. So let's try and adjust that a little bit. So I'm gonna try and move it down here, maybe, just to see if I can make them blend a little bit better. There's also there's a little bit of added difficulty because of the difference in size. So the other thing that you can do is, and that would help with these retargeting, is setting up the retarget route. So let's try going with the actual route here. Set retarget route, and for our Metahuman, do the same thing to set retarget route. Though if I recall correctly from my attempts before, you would have still had to set this up like so, like kind of the target mesh offset to bring it further down. Okay. So with that said, what we can do is let's try and create a V2 for this and see if those might work a little bit better once we adjusted, made that adjustment. So let's go back into blueprints and let's grab the blueprint class for our ALS anim here, and we're going to do a retarget, duplicate and retarget. Let's reselect this again for our ALS to anim metahuman, and make sure we select we're taking it to the proper directory there. Let's do a retarget, and hopefully this will again we'll have the feet on the ground for these retargeted animations. Alright, let's quickly save this. Well, I'm guessing this round is taking a little bit longer. I am not sure why it would take longer than the other one, but since they are the same assets, I would have expected that it was going to take the same amount of time. Okay, and it's almost there. Alright, so now we're going to try and use this new anim blueprint with our NPC. So let's try and apply that. And hopefully now we won't have the character just kind of flying around. Let's see, so it's still apparently when it's going backwards is when that thing is actually when it goes forward as well. Well, let's try and fix this before we move forward, because it is an issue, and I don't like that, having that going on. Let's go back in here and see why this one might let's take a look at another kind of walking forward. This is crouched. Let's see, normal. Let's take a look at walk. Search for walk here. Oh, that's interesting. It's actually set lower in there. So I'm going to reset this back to 0. Walk backwards. That looks good as well. The crouch is the one that's pretty odd. Let's try and set the different retargeting route here. So instead of this would be our metahuman, so let's try and set it at the pelvis. Apparently I can't do it in here, but let's try doing it in the Metahuman IK rig. So I'm going to try and change it to the pelvis. Set retarget route and see if that helps at all. So apparently it's actually made it worse. We go back here and set the retarget route back to the route. and save this. I'm gonna try and move this guy down, this being the source, which is the ALS. Yeah, that didn't seem to help much. And sometimes that's kind of one of the difficulties with this new system. It's much more powerful, but getting it set up um, is a little bit more difficult as well. Especially, and the fact that these are pretty different sizes in skeletons doesn't help either. Let's take a look at the target. And it's still on the same offset. And that's what's odd, that the crouch doesn't work right, but the walk, and what's the walk normal? The walk seems to be working okay, as you can see. So one thing that I've also noticed, as you can see, there's the arms kind of just sitting, not being positioned properly. What we're gonna do is to also address that. Let's take a look at the anim blueprint. And with the anim blueprint for the ALS especially, if you look at the anim graph, there's these two bone IKs for the hand L and the hand R. Now these shouldn't matter, so what I'm going to try and do also is I'm going to try and restart this project. That was something that had worked for me in that test case that I had to help with the positioning of the hands. I'm not sure if there was something that was left behind or what was going on, but it seemed to have worked. So let's take a look. I'm going to restart this thing here real quick. And yeah, interestingly enough, it seems to have fixed that. I am not entirely sure why that is. So I wish I could answer you that. It might be something related to the retargeting, but not entirely sure. Alright, so let's quickly jump into game mode and see what happens. And it looks like the character also moves as properly now. So I'm not sure if it was something that was because of the retargeting, but yeah, we fortunately we spent like 10 minutes looking at it, so my apologies for that. Okay, so with that said, now that we have the animation is retargeted and the body moves along as it's expected, what we want to do is we also want to have the head follow the body, because right now it's just sitting right there, so it's pretty odd. And the way to do that is, and we're going to take a look at the anim blueprint for the head. So let's do that. In our NPC, the face does not have an anim blueprint assigned just yet. So let's go ahead and assign the face to this face anim blueprint. Alright, so that's the basic one that comes with all the metahumans. And right away, you'll see that this one's applied to the body. And now let's see how that works. So it moves perfectly, just as it's supposed to. There he goes. But the only thing that you'll notice is that at times there might be like a little bit of a point where it might overlap with the outfit. And we don't really want that. So in order to help with it, let's open up the face anim blueprint. Now the face anim blueprint has a lot of features in it, and probably for performance purposes, let's disconnect the kind of the live link face head, since we're not going to use that anyways, and we don't want all those running and not doing anything. Okay, now let's also look at the anim graph. The anim graph also has quite a few things that we're probably not really doing anyways, so we might not have a use for it at this point, like all the teeth controls and all this. You can definitely, but we're probably not going to use it for the purpose of this tutorial. The main thing that is in here, what you'll see is it has this copy pose from mesh. So what that does is it just as it sounds, it copies the pose from its mesh. Now let's go ahead and set that up. So I'm just gonna get situated here. And let me see. I'm also checking with my reference because this was a pretty long tutorial, and I have the reference project open, especially for moments like this where I'm trying to figure out where the source mesh component is coming from. And just bear with me here for a little bit. Alright, so apologies for that. Back in our NPC anim, anim man character, in the event graph is where I've set that up. So after begin play, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the face, and from that I'm going to get the anim instance. And from here I'm going to go ahead and cast to our anim instance, which is the face anim BP. And before we do anything to this, let's also create from here promote to variable. So this is going to be our source mesh component. So the source mesh component, let's go back into our NPC and set the source mesh component to be our mesh. So that way it can transfer the animations from the mesh onto the face, because they do share some bones. Alright. So that should help with any oddities happening around the head, kind of becoming disjointed from the body. So with that said, let's go ahead and make this character interact with us, or actually, add a collision sphere to it, and then once the main character overlaps with that collision sphere, then this character can play that body animation and then the facial animation as well. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this, and in here, let me see. I'm going to be adding a sphere collision. So sphere collision. I'm just going to leave it named as is. And for this, I'm going to be adding the begin overlap. So on character begin overlap, I wanted to make sure that the other actor that I'm overlapping with, I'm going to go ahead and cast to, and this is why we created that separate child class for the main character. So if this is going to overlap with it, I wanted to do a sequence of items, or a sequence of actions. So I'm going to use sequence here. And first, what I wanted to do is I want the face to play our facial animation montage. So I'm going to use the face and do play montage. Then next, I'm going to use the body to play montage. So I'm going to use the mesh, and on this one, play montage. And in that example that I shown you, it was just kind of the joyous movement of the arms, and that was that montage. That's the one coming from Mixamo. Okay. And along with this, because there's also an audio recorded, let's also add an audio to our character. So I'm going to have audio here. And one thing that you want to make sure, especially when it comes to dialogues, I'm going to turn this auto activate off. Alright, so we're playing the montages. Now let's also play the audio, or actually set the audio first. You might have multiple dialogues, so you can for now I just only have one, so set sound to whatever that dialogue is going to be. And then I'm also going to play it. And we'll import that right away. It's just me with that little recording. Alright, so now we have the audio, we have the mesh playing a montage, and we have the face playing a montage as well. So what we need to do, and the other thing that I've also done in here, because this character is just randomly moving to a different location, then focusing on you, then moving again. So I wanted it to actually stop. And one thing that I did forget to do here is actually set for the sphere, set its radius to, let's do maybe 200. Let's see how big that is. That might be a little bit too big, so maybe make it 100, 150. Let's see how that looks. I think that might be good. Okay. So like I said, what I wanted to do is, once I overlap with the character, I don't want them running away. I just want them to focus on the main character. You know, so play the sound and then just continue to focus on the main character. And in order to do that, since this is running on a behavior tree, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the controller, and from here I'm going to get the AI controller, and get the brain component here, and I'm going to stop the logic. So there we go. So that way, once I overlap with them, they're gonna stop the logic and stop the logic of the behavior tree. So they're not gonna continue to kind of go to a different location on the map and then within my radius, and then come back to me and do all that movement. All right, and with that said, let's take a look and see what's happening. First, what I wanted to do is I'm going to import the audio. So we're just going to do it kind of step by step. So we'll do the audio first because it's the simpler one. Then we'll do the face animation, and then we'll do the Mixamo part of this work. Okay. So if you're still with me, let's do that. And I'm gonna go into my let's see, where did I save that? There you go, it's right there. Alright, so we're gonna go into, where do we want to put this? Let's do it here in the content. So I'm gonna drag this little audio, which, oh, this is so great, you're here. Okay, it's just me recording something saying, hey, you're here. Okay, perfect. Now, how do we generate a lip sync out of this? Well, there's an awesome plugin on the marketplace. Let's take a look at that, and it's called the Metahuman SDK. So let's enable that. And along with this, since we're here, I'm also going to enable Groom, because and actually it looks like I've already done that, and that will help us with kind of the hair assets towards the end. I'm going to go ahead and restart. And what this does, this plugin is there's a couple of steps to set it up, and it's documented by the developer. And what it does, it based on an audio file, it can generate a lip sync. So we'll take a look at how that looks. All right, so I'm gonna OK that. I'm gonna open the previous asset editors. Okay, so I have the audio file here. I'm going to right click and say create lip sync animation. And we have the option, we have quite a few options here on the explicit emotion. So we have calm, curious, disgust, dreamy. So let's do happy. And I'm going to do the generate eye movement and generate neck movement. I'm going to use the skeleton. This is going to be our face. And the mapping mode is going to be Metahuman. Let's go ahead and generate. So this is going to run the generating lip sync. Let's take a look at how this turned out. Alright, and here we are. I think that turned out pretty good. Excellent. Alright, let's see if this plays on our character. And back into our NPC, I don't have this promoted just yet to a variable, and I could actually do that. Let's do that. So I'm going to promote this to a variable and call this it's going to be facial montage to play, and then this one's going to be the body montage to play. And then call this body montage to play. Okay, let's compile, and I'm going to make these so they're editable. Back in our world, selecting the Metahuman, and let's take a look. We have the facial montage to play. Let's add this in. And why does that not like it? Oh, because it's just an animation sequence. So I'm gonna go ahead and create an anim montage out of this. All right, there we go. Now, the one thing to make sure with this, excuse me, the one thing to make sure with this is that we set the slot for it. So at the moment it's set the default slot, and I believe that should be fine. Let's take a look at our face anim blueprint here. And do we have a slot added? We don't have a slot added just yet, so we're going to add one in here. I'm going to bypass this AR head kit rotation as well. So on the layer blend layer blend per bone, this one's already set to the proper bone, I believe, from the get-go. And I believe, let's see if it's there's actually multiple bones. So the one to start off with is this facial C facial root. This is the most important one. This one also has the neck root, the neck 1 root, and neck 2 root. So what we need, I'm going to disconnect these for our uses now. And I'm going to have in here, I'm just going to keep the facial root. So I'm going to remove this one and this one. Alright, so that what's going to happen is I'm going to use the body pose here to duplicate it. And let me make sure I'm using the right one. And that also, let's add the default slot. So the default slot is going to go into blend pose 0, and also the layer blend per bone. Let's make sure that we have the proper root and 0. Perfect. Alright, let's take a look and see if our facial montage plays once you overlap our character. I'm going to jump into game mode, and they're still moving around because that's what the... But now I'm going to try and overlap, and it does not play it. Let's see what's happening. What are we missing? So we have the sphere, and it generates overlap events, which is good. Alright. Let's run a quick breakpoint in here and see what we're getting. Maybe there's some issue with casting to this. Alright, let's start this off. And I believe I was close enough that it already overlapped. Okay. Let's do a quick debugging statements here. So I'm going to do a print string to say bad cast. Alright, so it does not seem to like that overlap, and we have the character set, the default pawn class set there. Oh, and this is since this one is the starting character, it's still just an animan. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm just going to jump into game mode like this. So this one right now in the world, it should be our main character. Let's overlap, and there he goes. Let's try and do that again because we didn't see the... And there he goes. She's speaking to you, which is great. And then she's sitting in one spot, and she's still focused on you. The next part is actually getting the body to play a different animation. You know, like the little joyous animation. So for that, I've already downloaded. Let's go back into our Metahumans. And where did we say retargeted animation and Mixamo? So I've already downloaded this excited animation here, so I'm going to bring that into our folder, and remember to import animation. So import, alright, let's take a look at it real quick. So there he goes. It's just kind of a little bit of a jump around, and yay! Alright, well, so the next part is for our Mixamo, we need to do the same thing that we did when we did the retargeting. And let's save this real quick just in case we run into any trouble. And also probably the timing that it takes me to save is due to the fact that I have another instance of Unreal running at the same time, the one that I'm using for the reference. Okay, now let's do this one more time for the IK rig for Mixamo, and that's this one here. And this one we're gonna call it Mixamo IK rig. So we're gonna go through the same process. The fact this one has a completely different setup for the bones, and I'm going to start at the spine and go to spine 2 and set a new retarget for that called the spine. Let's also do the hips, and I'm gonna set the retarget's new chain bone from this, and this is gonna be the hips. Alright, let's do the head, and or this is gonna be to match the other ones, it's gonna be the neck. Alright, we'll do the right arm. Let's do the left arm. Now let's do the legs as well. I think it can go to here. Like I said, this one, as I'm going through it a little quicker, because it's up to you on how exact you want to go with your retargeting. And it does take a while, so I don't want to spend too much of your time on this. Alright, so now I have the Mixamo IK rig. What we need to do is back into our Mixamo, let's create a retargeter. So we have the animation, control IK rig, and IK retargeter. So this is going to be starting from the peak IK rig to copy animation from is going to be the Mixamo IK rig. So this is going to be Mixamo to Metahuman. Alright, so we have the Mixamo here. Let's select our Metahuman IK rig. And yeah, let's do this offset, though I'm not entirely sure if we needed to do that. Let's see how the animation looks. Yeah, that doesn't really look so well, and that's namely because our retarget route is different for our Mixamo character. And let's take a look and see how we can help that. For starters, the in the retargeting, this one has the arms in a T pose, and this one's an A pose. So I'm going to go ahead and the target, I'm going to select the clavicle and rotate this to match. Actually, not the clavicle, my apologies. It should be the upper arm that we want to set like that. Upper arm left, and let's also do the right one. Okay, so now we have them both in a T pose, and at least the arms are aligned properly. Now we want to set up the proper retargeting route for both of them. So let me just consult with my my reference here, because it took me a little bit of trial and error to figure out which one was the best retargeting or the best retarget route for this. And it looks like the spine. I'm using the spine for this. So let's see if that does it better. So I'm going to do the spine as the retarget route. Save that, and let's see how that looks. So that's still off. Let's see, what else have I made here? And so that's for our IK rig. Oh, the one thing that I did not check is in here in the chain mapping, we have the pelvis set to the left arm. So I think that should be, I believe, did we set the hips? I thought we had the hips. So the target chain and the source chain should be the hips. There we go, that's much better. So let's save that. The one thing that I'm I can't really figure out is this offset, and why that is. It's probably just for the preview. So I'm going to try and do the retargeting now. Alright, so back in here, let's go into our Mixamo animations. I'm going to right click on this and retarget animation assets, duplicate it and retarget. And the IK retargeter is going to be Mixamo to Metahuman. And let's place it in that directory just to have it here. And I'm going to add a prefix just to know that it's for the Metahuman of Metahuman underscore and retarget. Alright, let's see how this one really looks like it is sitting higher, so I should not have applied that offset when it said that, oh, you can apply the offset. Not really. Alright, so let's try and do it like this. Let's see if this one might work a little bit better. It's still not perfect, you know, there's definitely some things that could be improved on the matching here, but at least for our current purposes, hopefully this will do a little bit better this time. Alright, and let's jump into here. And I'm gonna save it real quick. Sometimes there might be issue like this, you know, when there's references in memory. And I'm gonna rename this. I don't want to delete it. There might be it might cause a crash. So let's try and retarget this again using our Mixamo to Metahuman, and let's place it in the retargeted animation, Mixamo. Okay. I'm not gonna rename it this time. Let's do a retarget. Oh, and it's still setting it up like that. Why would that be? Alright, so let's see what this does when you do a reset all. So we have the left arm, right leg, left leg. Let's see if at least the feet are in the right spot. And we can fix the arms being crossed with the editing of the T-pose. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one right here, and we'll try and do a to retarget this one again. So duplicate and retarget, and we have the Mixamo. Let's place the proper directory here. Alright, so that works. It's interesting why that it's kind of off like that, but this works decently. Okay, let's fix the arms, and that's going into edit mode and setting the Metahuman to have the upper arm, you know, kind of in a T pose. So let's do it best we can about there. I think that should be within reason. Alright, so that's the upper arm. Let's do the upper arm R as well. Alright, that looks about right. Okay, so there he goes. It kind of joyous moves around a little bit. Okay, so it's not perfect. It's just kind of good for us playing an animation on the body. That's what we're interested in. And let's retarget this one last time. So retarget animation assets, duplicate and retarget. Let's select our IK retargeter and change this to be in Mixamo and retarget. Alright, so now the animation is sitting on the ground. The arms are aligned. It's still not perfect. It's a little kind of wobbly, but it's good for our needs. I'm going to create a anim montage from this. So that's the excited anim montage. And just quickly saving. and let's apply it to our character here. Alright, let's see what happens. So she's running away, but let's see what happens when I overlap. Oh, and it's not playing. Oh, and that's because I forgot something important. With the ALS, the default slots are important. So I'm going to select the base layer for the slot here. So let's save this and try this again. Where is she? There it is. And there she goes. She's kind of moving around, and as you can see, this is kind of one of the issues that apparently even the copy post from mesh cannot solve properly, especially when the animation, the retargeting part was not done, properly. I've kind of just rushed through it to get to this point, but this is what I wanted to show you is when you overlap, there's a facial animation playing separate from the body animation, and the head stays in place. For the most part, there's there's that little issue that like I said, the body montage is not perfect. Okay, and as a little thing to end this, I wanted to add the Groom asset and at least the head and show you how I go about doing that. Alright, so let me just save this real quick, and back into our NPC character, I'm going to be adding a Groom asset here, and I'm just going to do the head. I'm not going to go about doing the rest of these, especially the kind of the eyebrows, the eyelashes. Okay, in the construction script, let's set it up right before the rest of the skeletal meshes. I'm going to drag in Groom, and from here with the Groom, I'm going to set the Groom asset, and the other thing that the Groom needs is set binding asset. And just like with the other ones, we're going to promote this to our variable, and this is going to be the Groom asset, and this one also promote to variable, and this one's going to be Groom binding. And let's also make them public and compile. And selecting our characters, let's look for the Groom asset for Vivian, and let's take a look and search for hair, and we have the hair as Pixie here for the Groom asset. Let's add that in, and there should be a the binding for that, and it should be this one here. Let's also add the binding, and it's right there, and that could be because when we add this Groom asset, let's see, in the viewport, where did it end up? Let's make sure. I'm going to try and parent it to the face and reset these positions here, and there we go. So now we have Vivian with a Groom asset as well, and you can go and do the same thing for the eyebrows and the eyelashes. If it's a male, it has beard, you can do that the same way. So there we go. The character is playing the facial montage. Of course, it's a little bit exaggerated, just like I said, because of the body montage is pretty poorly retargeted. But there you go. The one last thing that I wanted to share with you guys, and this is something that I'm using as well in my face anim blueprint, is I want to be able to set the NPC to look towards you. So the way I'm doing that is I am using the look at nodes, and I'm gonna put it right in here. Now this is up to you. This is just something that I thought I'd share with you guys, and hopefully it might be of use to some of you. Okay, so let's look for the look at node, and I'm gonna use 3 of them. I use the head and the eyes. So I'm gonna start here with the head. And let's also make it so that this has a look at location. And this one, look at location, should be exposed as pin. And I'm just going to duplicate this twice to also add the eyes, because maybe you want the head to not rotate past a certain degree, but you want the eyes to go a little bit more. So in here, what I'm going to select is I'm going to look up facial, let's see, facial underscore L underscore I. There's so many of them, so there we go. There's one of them, and then the second one is going to be facial underscore R underscore I. There we go. Okay, so let's link these together. The local to component is going to be created automatically, and then place that there as well. Okay, now let's get the location. And the way I've set up the location is if we go back into our NPC in our event graph, you'll see that we already find out who we should focus on. This is the main character. So what we can do is in our NPC blueprint here, let's add another piece to our sequence. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the face, and from here we're going to get anim instance. So you've probably seen this before and just a little while ago. We're going to cast this to face anim BP, just like that. So I'm going to drag from 4 into here. Just bring it down here for a little bit. I'm going to try and not make too much spaghetti here for you. Okay, so in our face anim blueprint, let's create a parameter variable here and call this. This is going to be our ALS main character, and the type is going to be main character BP. So what we're going to use is we're going to use the location of that to set up where the character will look towards. And in order to do that, I'm going to use the event blueprint update animation here, and I'm going to check to see if this is valid. It is valid. I'm going to get the actor location, and I'm going to promote this to a variable. So this is going to be our main character location. There we go. Okay. So in our anim graph, we'll be able to get the main character location and plug it in to look at location. But what I wanted to add to this is also a little bit of an offset, because especially for this character, since it's a smaller, it's a shorter character, they need to look up a little bit to look towards you. So I'm gonna add, and what has worked for me in this case, I've tried it with 70, so 70 units up to Z. So adding that in there, let's compile this. Just quickly save. And the one thing before I forget is in here, what we're going to do is set ALS main character to the one that we just overlapped with, so which is coming from here. Alright, let's see. Let's drag this node and right there. There we go. Let's compile real quick and see what we get. I'm going to go a little bit farther so I don't overlap with the interaction sphere. So now, you know, there's like the excitement that she sees you, and now she's tracking you as well. And you can play around with the values in the look at node so that the character does not, you know, kind of turns her head too much, because right now, you know, that's a little bit exaggerated. So you might want to tone that down. So if we go back into our face anim blueprint and we look at the look at node, let's do a clamp at maybe 50. I'm not entirely sure what the anatomic value would be. For some people it might be different, but let's see if this helps. Alright, so there it goes. It plays the happiness. That's good. It's a little bit crazy how much it plays it, but there it goes. So I believe the lookout clamp doesn't seem to be working out so well from what I can tell. The one thing that can also help with this is in the NPC blueprint. Once you as you remember, I have set to stop logic. So basically at that point there's no more nothing else happening on the behavior tree component, behavior tree end. So what I'm going to add to this is going to be from our get controller. What I'm going to do is, let's use the AI controller, and I'm going to do a set focus. So that way it's gonna, hopefully it's gonna look a little bit more natural with focus on our main character. Let's see how that looks. Alright, so it's playing the animation. It's like I said, it's a little bit wild. But now it seems to be turning a little bit more in a more realistic fashion. And of course, if you jump up, she looks up at you. So that works pretty good. The one thing that I forgot to add is the audio, because it didn't really say anything. So let's end with that. And I have the audio here. And set sound, let's promote this to a variable as well. So I'm going to call this maybe speech. And compile, make that editable. Alright, let's see where that is. And it's down here. And where is my... Great, you're here. Okay, so we'll try and play that. Let's see if this works. Perfect. Let's try that again. Oh, this is so great, you're here. And there we go. Like I said, it's a little bit wild, especially with the body animation, but there is a really good plugin on the marketplace that does the retargeting properly from Mixamo to and I believe it's from Mixamo to ALS. Don't quote me on that, but I am not entirely sure. I think the new version might be to the Lyra character, so I still use the one for 4.27. And there you have it. This is what I wanted to show you in this. There it goes, and the hair actually kind of follows along pretty nicely, which is good. So that's what I wanted to show. Hopefully it's useful for some of you, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this. Alright, well, I'll see you on the next tutorial. Have a great one, everybody.